previous page.
Is this one, which is like the same size. The two that I'm choosing between are now these two. The lay flat sketchbook, and I have the pre-coffee stained sketchbook here. Firstly, this is my first actual attempt to fill a sketchbook, and as you probably already know from the thumbnail, it is a travel sketchbook, or at least that's what it's going to be. And I decided to paint the cover despite having only attempted painting twice before with, well, naturally amateurish results. See Exhibit A. But when I saw the way the coffee spill stained this interior cover, I immediately felt compelled to turn it into some kind of landscape art, and with inspiring role models on YouTube everywhere painting the covers of their sketchbooks, what could possibly go wrong? I started with the easy part, which was outlining the coffee spill itself as my backdrop, and then went to work with some pencils, figuring out what the rest of my landscape was going to look like, and then adding a little cabin in the midground just for a focal point. Then I went back in with the pen. I know I've watched a lot of videos where they don't start with the ink, they start with the painting itself, because painting bleeds, specifically watercolors, which is what I plan on using, and then they add the ink later, like I am doing here now with the Micron line calligraphy pens, kind of how I did with the coffee spill itself, but me forgetting all of that already this early into this experiment, I went in all caution to the wind, thinking I had already done my careful prep work with the pencils, completely forgetting that part about paint and the way that paint works, which I wouldn't know because I've only painted twice before, and you can kind of see where I'm going with this. At least I can say I do like how the line work turned out. I like the drawing that I came up with. I think it fits in with the coffee spill very organically, and I'm really excited that this is how this just naturally evolved, which is really cool. And the last thing I add here before we move on to the paint itself is that little hill in the open space before erasing all the pencil marks and deciding it's time. So I am now dipping my brush in a bunch of water and then adding the color after I wash the part of the page with the water first. It's a little technique I picked up on YouTube. If I can find the video again that I learned this from, I will of course put that down into the description for you guys so you can see what I saw and learn what I learned. If you saw my art hoarding video, then you know just how many supplies I have been hauling around with me my entire life that have gone barely to completely unused, and these are some of them. These paintbrushes look well loved and used, but they're really not. You saw the paintings earlier in this video that I actually used this paint palette and these brushes on, so they are used, but barely used, lightly used even, I would say, despite all appearances. But we're just starting off real nice and easy here with the river and adding some light blue in here. I've already smeared it a little bit. It's already started bleeding into the tree line there, but thankfully not too much. It was a little mistake, but barely noticeable. And the color seems to be staying put where I want it to, at least for now, which is a relief. So I'm moving on to the trees. And I'm using one solid color for now, but I'll do a little bit of blending later so I can get some color variation, since there's going to be a lot of green on this piece for the rest of it, aside from the cabin, of course, which will be 2 tones of brown, and you'll see that. We're going to get there. But I also wanted to tell you guys a little bit about this book. If you see under the paint palette there's a little inscription written on the opposite page, which is another reason why I didn't toss out this book when it was first damaged. It's not just that I'm a hoarder, you guys, it's that I really appreciate every gift I'm given. I'm the kind of person who holds on to holiday cards for years. Even if the same person sends me a new card every year, I collect those because I am extremely sentimental, and that is why I held onto this book for as long as I have, and I'm so thankful that I did, because now I'm really going to get to use it, and it has been very effective in freeing up my mind space from the crippling anxiety and fear of perfectionism, or the fear of failing at perfectionism. Basically, I felt enabled to come in here and paint the cover of this book even though I have virtually no painting experience. And And the only way to get that experience is to let yourself begin painting, to let yourself suck at something first and get better with practice. But to do that, I first needed to feel like I was free to suck at something and not be afraid to damage what was already imperfect. And that was so freeing. So if you have imperfect notebooks or you have imperfect sketchbooks and you're not sure whether or not to use them, I would say go for it. Use them, because it does really give you permission to be imperfect as an artist and to do whatever you want to do without feeling like you're going to ruin what you're working with or working on. At least that's how it worked out for me, and I am extremely grateful, and I do feel very freed up to experiment, to grow as an artist, and to use this book in any which way that I feel inspired to. This is that part I mentioned earlier where I try to get some color variation in the trees and a little bit of texture by playing around with my brush a little bit with varying results. So, after finding the courage to paint on my sketchbook, did I conjure an incredible piece of art? No, but you know what? I love what I painted, and that I finally got past the fear to paint at all. And the sense of freedom and fulfillment it left me with helped spur me forward with newfound momentum, and I painted the outside cover with 2 paint pens and a Sharpie as well. And you know what? I absolutely love those imperfections too. This is the part where I invite you to like and subscribe because we're friends now, and I'd love to take you with me on this travel sketchbook journey, wherever and everywhere else we go next.